Kind of looks like we got these just in the nick of time. I know, I said I was going to wait for some warmer weather to buck up these logs, but I'm going stir crazy in there. I already cleaned the kitchen, did the bathrooms, I vacuumed, everything's clean. It's negative 12 and it's pretty cold, but I got to do something. I know there's a lot of new folks on the channel, so I wanted to mention a few things before we get started. This is a balaclava. Everybody asks me what that thing is on my head. You can pick them up at any power sports store, places that sell ATVs, snowmobiles, skidoos, etc. They're really nice. They're great for working in the middle of the winter when you're out in the forest or you're bucking logs. It fits really nice. I'd recommend you don't get one of those thick knitted or woolen ones. This one's made of Thinsulate, so it's nice and thin, but it's still super warm, holds your heat in, but it also fits comfortably underneath your forestry helmet. Always a plus. I have a few of them back at the cabin. They're great. Got to get them if you don't have one. The saw. Don't forget that there's a shutter inside, right on the side of the carburetor, that you need to flip over to the winter position. If you're not familiar with it or you're new to your chainsaw, it'll be in your manual there. Super important you flip it, because especially when you're negative 12 outside, you're going to have a hard time getting it started if you don't flip that shutter to close off that fresh cold air from getting in there. And then it should start up pretty easily. Not to mention, if you try to run it in this kind of temperature without that shutter in the right position, it's going to run really rough for you. When you're running in this kind of temperatures, negative 12 Celsius, I always run a light chain bar roll. I don't run my medium. I use medium all the rest of the year, but once we get down below, negative 2, negative 3, I'll usually run a light, because otherwise that medium oil doesn't heat up enough and it almost starts running through your bar, kind of like glue or a really, really thick gluey substance. So this way I know the saw is going to run a little cleaner for me. And last but not least, I know these logs are going to be frozen inside, which means they're going to be a lot harder to cut through. They just are. You'll notice the difference for sure. So even though I do it the rest of the year, you always want your chains super sharp just to help make it a little bit easier to get through them. So let's fire it up, warm it up, and get these logs underway. Thanks for hanging out with me today. you think that is, guy?
That's because my right shoulder is wrecked, actually.
That's awful icy. Oh boy.
How large you want
A
your
lot of exercise, but at least we got out.
Don't you hate that fresh air?
Yeah. At least now we can go back in, grab a coffee, and sharpen up those knives.
We're gonna have to sharpen up your chainsaw too.
I think so. Nothing like cutting through bricks of ice. Thanks so much for sticking around today. I hope you folks enjoyed it. I know it was short, but I wanted to get out today. Have a great weekend. Please be kind to each other. And we'll see you again right here. I'm Gord Potter, and you've been watching GP Outdoors. Cheers.
Cheers.
What we realized a few weeks back is a few of these logs we actually cut at the beginning of last summer, as in 2 summers ago. And then the other 2, you'll remember, we took out early this summer. So they've been laying on the ground, and we're starting to worry about them becoming rot or punky. But as you can see, in most cases, they're all in good shape. There's a couple here that look like they might have a little bit of ugliness in them, but the majority of it looks like we caught them in time. We'll split them up. It'll make for a good wood to add to the pile.